So, welcome to GSD Talks, and we have a very special guest today. What is your name, Steve, and where do you work?
Steve Jones. I'm the chairman and CEO of Allied Universal.
All right.
Awesome.
How long have you been in the security industry, and how did you get your start?
So I joined the security in 1996, and I was actually in the waste management industry, which is a sophisticated term for the trash industry. And I was recruited by the two original founders of what was a small little man guarding company called Universal Protection Service. We were $12 million of revenues with 400 employees. And he convinced me to come over and told me if I joined the company, they would treat me better than any big company could ever treat me. It's interesting through the last 24 years, but their words actually all came true.
Wow, that's quite a big offer, actually. Good for them. Where do you live at, Steve?
I live in a community called Costa de Casa, California, which is in Orange County, California, which is in Southern California. So,
have you always lived in SoCal?
I have. Grew up, born and raised here.
Born and raised Californian. That's awesome. I second that as well. So cool. All right, Lee, go ahead.
I'm not from California. I'm from England, and actually I'm in Mexico right now. So Steve, first of all, thanks so much for being here. We're really proud to have you on the show. We're looking forward to hearing all your answers. So here's my first question. What is your current role at Allied Universal?
So I'm the chairman and CEO. I'm in charge of the entire entity and organization, which is about $8.5 billion in revenues and about 230,000 employees. Primarily, we're very, obviously the largest in North America, but we're also in the UK and Mexico.
Fantastic. Kudos to you guys, Steve. I know the Allied brand is really reaching out there, and congratulations on all of your growth and everything you're doing. So moving on to my next question. As a company that's made up of so many branches, companies and roles, how do you create a diversity, inclusivity culture within the company?
So, look at the stats for us. If you look at our total population, about 60% of our employees are non-Caucasian. The female side of our employee population, is about 40%. So,
wow, that's awesome.
So
that's wonderful.
So our workforce is very diverse. Obviously, we have a lot of work and continued emphasis and energy and efforts to do in kind of what I would call the executive management. Now, I'm really proud to say that we have some women in leadership roles. Our president of national accounts is a woman. Our president of acquisitions is a woman. We have our regional vice president of the Northeast, which is our largest region in the company, is a woman. So we've got some women in high positions in the organization, which I'm pretty proud of. As far as just kind of even more diversity from a racial standpoint and from a gender, I think we can always do better. And it's matter of fact, we just formed a new group, a committee on that to meet with us to determine how we improve that in our company and our organization. What programs do we implement to do that?
That's super cool, Steve, and I love the fact that you can say that we can always be better. One of the things that I always coin the phrase bigger and better. And I think as leaders that we should always strive for excellence and always, try and reach perfection. So fantastic that you guys have also got a committee in place and that you're evaluating that at all times. So, thanks so much again for all that you're doing.
To your comment about, always striving to be better and how you talk about it. It's funny you say that because from the moment I started this company, I would challenge all of our team members to think as if the company was, significantly bigger and act like it is and how we should be acting and what the company should look like. And if you want to be $1 billion company, you need to look and act like $1 billion company in order to have a chance to even get there, right? So if you're a $10 million company and your goal is to be $1 billion and you're thinking like a $10 million company, it's gonna be difficult to get there. But if you're thinking like the CEO or the leadership team of a $1 billion company and you're challenging yourself to be like that, then, inevitably you'll be taking steps to get yourself there.
That's a
Right.
great point. Think bigger, manifest it, then you're prepared by the time you get there because you've already
Act like it. Yeah,
Yep.
act like it. Do the things that should be doing as a bigger company, right?
And
Exactly.
always be ready for the next challenge, right? Every single day should be challenging, for you, right at the top, Steve, to the people, the boots on the ground, the operators, those ladies and gentlemen doing that wonderful job for you. We should be challenging, they should be challenging, the whole culture should be a challenge environment.
Exactly. Good point. Okay. In regards to kind of the young professional population we have out there, Steve, especially in your company, and I don't know if you know of, that diversity factor or those stats inside your company of like under the age of 35, under the age of 40, not sure if you know those or not, no big deal. But what steps should young professionals take in their careers, either as security officers, so our front line, right, especially to accelerate their career path inside of this industry and become a very valuable employee faster, quicker steps? What do you think some good steps to success would be?
Yeah. So I don't know the stats by age group. I certainly can get them, but what I do know is 50% of our employees that stay with us for 12 months or longer get promoted internally. So it's something that
Wonderful.
Yeah, something we're really proud of, something we push. So, what I would say is some of the things I'm pretty proud of is our chief client officer for the organization, so C-suite level individual, started off as a security professional. Our regional president for the Southeast started off as a security professional. Our regional president in the Midwest started off as a security professional, took the opportunity to go to school, get his education. And we've got kind of countless examples of, regional vice presidents, branch managers, general managers, all of those. What I would say is take advantage of all the opportunities, right? And so a company like ours, and I'm assuming, a lot of the companies here, whether it's training programs internally or externally, your job in order to manage your career is to put yourself in the best position to grow. And so how do you do that? You do that by taking advantage of either internal or external resources to improve your skill set. And if you do that, you will inevitably put yourself in a position to have an opportunity. Right now, then obviously, performance comes in, and then also being flexible and nimble when opportunities arise. I have this discussion with a lot of my team members. We've got 7 regional presidents that run this company, and so everyone's aspiring to be a regional president, which is great. But as opportunities come up, people have had to make a decision on whether or not they want to relocate in order to have this opportunity. And so again, if you really want to excel in your career, you've got to be flexible and nimble, which means you've got to be willing to relocate, got to be willing to do different things, different roles. You may get put in a role that maybe it's not your favorite, right? So you may have been in field operations, and there may be an opportunity to expand your horizons and go into HR, or there may be a challenge to go into sales. So, you've got to challenge yourself and then take advantage of, again, internal and external opportunities for improving your skill set.
So you made a great point, and I just want to point this out and ask you, because this is a question that always comes up, especially with young professionals and all the diversity groups really that are trying to get into the industry and grow. On, let's say, a scale of 1 to 10, getting a certification in the security industry, when you're evaluating talent, not necessarily from an executive level, but from the talent of maybe that security professional, do you find that as a valuable thing to acquire?
Yeah, I mean, we look at certifications. We looked at who's complete. I mean, we have just internally. So the CPP designation. We have a training library of several hundred courses. And so we look to individuals to see have they completed the training curriculum? Did they go on and get the different phases and stages of certifications that we offer internally? So I would say we look for internal and external certifications because absolutely, it shows initiative, right, by the individual. And so
the hustle and the drive of wanting to accomplish it themselves on their own to grow their own professional is what it sounds like you're saying.
Absolutely, and that's that's where we determine who we're going to interview or not. Now, in the interview, you have to win the job based on how you're going to present yourself, your past performance, and your vision for success in the future. But to get to the interview, when we're looking at a bunch of people across the board, what we're looking at is what is their background they have here. And background could be experience, it could be certifications and training, and that's internal and external.
And merit. Wonderful.
Yep.
Great.
What I'm hearing here as well, which is fantastic, is the fact that you're trying to nurture your internal talent and giving them the opportunities to really rise up within the organization. I think a lot of times, and complaints that you see from professionals now, is that they don't get those opportunities. So it's great to see that you guys are investing a lot of time, effort, money, and throwing resources at nurturing that internal talent. So again, well done to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to Lee's point, I love that, because your training today is free. A lot of people don't have the money. They don't have, they're paying off bills. They've got medical bills, whatever we want to call it. That gives them an opportunity internally to also grow, and it doesn't cost them anything.
Right. Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, I'd say to any young professional, take advantage of all the opportunities your organization or your industry provides, right? And it's also great.
And ask for those things.
Absolutely. And it's also great to, absolutely let your manager, supervisor, and everyone know that, look, you're looking to build a career here, and you want to grow in the industry, and what steps should you take? I mean, we've invested in many people because they've, to your point, Brittany, they've asked and they've told us, what they want to do with their career path. So
cool. Great.
Steve, let's talk a little bit about failure. I think we don't give failure enough kudos. I always say learn to love failure. So what I would love for you to tell the audience is, what was your biggest professional failure? What did you learn from it, and how did you overcome those lessons?
Gosh, great question. I totally agree. Look, I think failure, quite honestly, I hire a lot of former athletes in really any type of sport. And the reason I like that is because they know how to win, but they also know how to lose. Yeah. And what I always challenge our people to do is, I was a former football player. So when we played college football, you always go to the game film after the game. And no matter how good you thought you played, the film doesn't lie. Yeah. And so, the film tells the truth, and you sit there and you realize, wow, I didn't really have that good of a game. And so I always challenge our team to go back to the game film per se, and how did we really do? And so we've had countless failures, over the years, whether it's failures to retain, some quality people that we should have never let go, whether it's failures at servicing some accounts. I've had a failure. Look, when Universal, we originally tried to buy Allied Barton 2 years prior to our merger in 2016. And, I failed twice on that, in that endeavor. It got to the, 11th hour, and, literally when we were supposed to sign documents, and we couldn't get the deal done. And so,
I imagine that failure made you more hungry, right? Made you want to go and get that deal.
What I did is, obviously, you're deflated for the day. And then you go back and you say, okay, what do I got to do to get this past the finish line? What do I got to do differently next time? And so I literally, in 2015, I went out and brought in an additional partner in our ownership structure, just so in 2016, I could go get that deal done. Yeah. Because we had tried for 2 years prior with our existing partnership, we couldn't get it done. It
sounds like you too strategized yourself out of failure. Is what I'm
hearing.
I
think you take your failure and you go to the game film, learn from it, right? And then say to yourself, what do you do differently next time so you don't fail?
Right. And you didn't stop. You didn't give up. What you did was you just re-strategized. You approached it from a different perspective, and you won.
Yep.
It sounds to me that Steve harnessed that hurt, right? And then he charged like a bull straight into it because he wanted that deal and nothing was going to stop him.
Everything sounds better out of Lee's mouth because he has a British accent. So it doesn't really matter what he says. But that was well stated. I love it. All right. So and we're just going to kind of, like I said, roll through how, people approach problems in the past, but also COVID-19 was not only a lesson, but also a wake-up call for the whole world. So what are you and your organization doing to give security officers, or that front line, a sense of not only purpose, but safety in 2020, and now what we think will be beyond this, right?
Yeah. So obviously massive change to our business, right?
Yeah. Everybody.
Biggest challenges for us in the beginning were just understanding, state by state, city by city, county by county, who was opening, who was closing, were we deemed an essential service, right? I mean, we got through all that. Then it was quickly, going to our supply chain to attain protective personal equipment, which was not part of our standard equipment purchases, right? I mean, we were uniforms, we were belts, we were jackets, things like that. So now we were masks, gloves, hand sanitizers. So we had to, it was a race to get that. Obviously, early on, we probably overpaid, got gouged in certain standpoints, but we had to race and get out masks to our employees. We were ahead of the game. We were getting them out proactively before masks were even, really required. And we got them out to all of our security professionals. And then, we were able to reorder and then come up with a permanent, like, Allied Universal logoed mask and get that out before it was fully required. But again, those were, expensive decisions that we had to make.
Right.
Then it was, having to communicate to our employees. So we were constantly communicating the need for safety, them staying healthy. If they don't feel well, don't come to work. And then it was, how do we do something to recognize and reward our security officers, right? And really our frontline employees. And so we did a couple of things. We came up with a compensation structure to reward all of the support personnel that have been working around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to support our security professionals. And then for our security professionals, what we did is we said, look, we want to reward the folks that have worked so hard to support our organization. So we committed $50 million in a additional contribution to all of our security professionals' 401k programs.
Wow.
That's
over the
amazing.
next 5 years. So over the next 5 years, we're gonna commit up to $50 million, so $10 million a year. And obviously, if they don't have the 401k, they can sign up for it. But we're trying to invest in our people's future like they've invested in our future. So, it's been a tremendous amount of work, and obviously incredibly challenging. And it's not going away, at least in the near future.
Right.
I don't know what the long-term outcome is, and obviously that's dependent on if we get a drug that will work and protect us all, or if we develop an immunity in our system. But I think for now, at least in the short term, this is here to stay with us.
And what you're saying is investing in obviously these essential workers, because security is such a massive essential workforce. But then there's the janitorial staff, there's the facilities management, all of these people who have been in the trenches literally since this started, haven't really gotten a break. I mean, I'm almost worried about burnout ratio as well, because if you think about it, they've been there, they can't stop. We've almost had to double that workforce, and I mean, scale back and then scale back up again, and it's been kind of chaotic. Have you seen any burnout in any fashion?
Yeah, I'd say you'd think with really high unemployment right now that our turnover rate would be significantly down. I'd say our turnover rate's been fairly consistent all year, which is disappointing, obviously, because we want people to stay as long as possible. But I think it is that burnout factor, right?
Yeah.
I think people are, it's kind of never relenting, and now you're going to work, and you're in some cases you're putting gloves on, you've got your mask on for sure, you're constantly hand sanitizing yourself, you're enforcing that social distancing, so the requirements are changing, so it's so I do agree with you. I do think it's a challenge, not just in the security industry, obviously in any essential workplace, whether it's grocery stores, fast food restaurants, or healthcare workers, or certainly, we're seeing it in law enforcement. Without getting political on that, my heart goes out to just the challenges that go on every day, right? I mean, it's just, so on one side we have the civil liberties that we have, which are great, and being able to protest. On the other side, trying to keep everybody safe, and it's tiring.
It is. And I think personally, from that perspective, I think you said it best, is that we're going to see the workforce get burnt out over time over at least the next year or so in just the pure process that they have to go through now to do their own jobs,
Yep.
right? The 6 things they have to do from a safety perspective to just be on the front line. And
Just
I
to go
think
to work.
just to go to work, just to make a paycheck,
Yeah.
right? So I think that that's going to be really interesting to watch as the months go on, is how do you make it comfortable to do your job inside of a very uncomfortable situation?
Yep.
Go ahead, Lee.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that, 'cause it sounds like a Hearts and Minds program, very similar to what I did back in my military days. So proud to hear you guys investing in your teams. Going back to nurturing talent within, how do you think that professionals should prove themselves in their position without making the management or their manager specifically think that they're going to take their jobs? You know, it's quite a big question. You know, from me, answering it on your behalf, I like my team to challenge everybody. So I'll throw that one to you, Steve.
Yeah, no, look, first of all, I think it's healthy. And if I'm a young professional, I love it when people come in and tell me what their goals are, right? And what they aspire to be. And I think the people should be, the young professionals should be telling their leadership team what they want, right? And so, it's our job as leaders to help young professionals, as we talked earlier about, where do you go and get the training both internally and externally, and then to help guide them from a career path standpoint through mentorship, and then also through performance coaching and management, right? I mean, everyone needs to be understanding, what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, and what they need to do to improve their career. I think it's healthy for a young professional to say, hey, look, one day I'd like to be a CEO. What do I need to do? Now, what I would caution, your listeners to do is also be patient with your career, right? I'll tell you, talk about failures. Some of my earliest failures in life is probably being impatient, right? And one of the things that, and what I'd say is, look, there's several times in my career here at Allied Universal, look, I've been the CEO for, the last 10, 15 years now, but I've been here for 25. Before that, there were many times I thought about leaving. And thinking that I didn't know if I was going to have the career path here, but because I didn't, and I stuck with it. I've obviously turned out to have, not only the career I wanted, but also an incredibly challenging career, incredibly rewarding career, and without tooting my own horn, I think we've had some success. So I think a lot of times people give up too early. They don't see the end in sight, and so they give up. So what I'd say is, as long as you're progressing and you're continuing to improve yourself, put in the time and energy, have a little bit of patience, because opportunities will present themselves. Last point on this is, I had an individual, he's going to get promoted. We haven't announced it yet, and so I don't want to name the position yet, but the individual's going to get promoted in a very big position. And 2 years ago, he almost left. And I had to convince him and beg him to stay, and told him that he was going to have a bigger opportunity in this company. And so, someone announced they're going to retire, and in 2 weeks we're going to announce this retirement and this big promotion for this individual. And again, literally 2 years ago, he was leaving our organization. So, if a company is a good company and they're investing in you, have a little patience.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah,
I've actually done the same thing in a management level, as I was almost going to leave, and the similar concept happened. They said, there's stuff in the works that you don't know and you're not going to know, just stick it out, right? And that was a huge learning lesson. That is spot on, Steve.
Yep. I love it, because it goes back to what Steve and his Hearts and Minds and the recognition and reward, because this individual that's going to get promoted, that showcases the path and the journey that he or she, or this secret individual, and I hope that we all get to see this announcement.
Oh yeah, it'll be a public announcement. And by the way, this individual took advantage of all of our internal training, got his external CPP. This individual went through our management training academy, and where we invested in that. I mean, so he did everything he needed to do, and it was just really a time issue, right? And kind of like Brittany said, like he didn't know everything that was going on in the works, and taken 2 years, but he's going to get a huge position, and it's highly rewarding.
So that brings up a great point, is basically the company has given all the resources and tools, yet the professional has also gone out of his way to invest in himself. A lot of times you hear that argument now is that people just want things, but they're not willing to put the hard work in. So it's fantastic that you guys have rewarded him and he's gone out and rewarded himself through getting all the accreditation and qualification. So it's a great story by the sounds of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so one question that comes up, and this is women in, not just women in security, but this is YPs, but I don't know, at least I hear this a lot, is I've just entered the industry. I don't know anyone. I don't even know where to go to get resources. I don't even know what to start with. And it's a struggle, right? What advice, and I know that you've been in the industry for a long time, but what advice would you have for those struggling who have like just entered the security industry from a mental perspective? You know, we know that the resources are there, but what would you give them as a strategy?
Yeah, look, I think, first, like kind of baby steps in that, reach out to those around you, right? And start to look for mentors, right? And it could be a coworker, a peer, it could be a customer, it could be a vendor, right? So if you just entered and you're a customer, and maybe you're a security provider, or electronic security systems provider, or your fire life safety, I mean, there's the different vendors that you have, take the opportunity to invest time into those relationships. By the way, those people know people that'll help introduce you to individuals. So, I'd say, look for kind of immediate opportunities, invest in trying to find people that could be mentors to you. And it doesn't have to be, somebody that you would think, it doesn't have to be the CEO. You can get mentorship from a lot of different resources. And again, you're taking little bits of knowledge and information from a variety of different people. I certainly think over my career, I mean, I learned from not only the security industry, but some of the best networking and how to build the businesses. I watched in some other vendors as I was watching what they were doing in the industry, talking to them and how they were building their business, going, gosh, we need to be doing this, right? And looking towards other industries. And then I think, obviously, there's the industry associations, and you got to challenge yourself to get involved. A great way to get involved is a lot of the different training programs they put on, or a lot of different seminars they put on, and get involved in those. Even right now, if they're all virtual, at least you're listening, you're hearing, and then when the opportunity comes back and things are in person, that's a great place to then meet and see people. And then the biggest challenge is you got to challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone, right? Which means
exactly.
Brittany, when I met you, you walked up to me at an event with I had hundreds of our team members around. You were not shy to walk up and just introduce yourself. And
shocking. I wasn't shy.
But here's who I am, and here's what I do, and I'd like to meet you. And I said, great, nice to meet you. And since that time, we've established a relationship. But that you have to get out of your comfort zone. So
yeah, you have to ask, right? It goes back to that. You have to take the initiative as a young person and or somebody that's brand new to the industry and raise your hand. Otherwise, you're right. No one will know who you are.
Yep.
And you're not only somebody who is in a very large organization, but you've been in the industry for a very long time. You've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, you've seen the 9/11s, you've seen the COVID, 19s. You've been there, you've done that, right? What would you say is and I'm going to say 5-year term, let's put a 5-year term on it, something that if you could change anything in the security industry in 5 years, what would you spin or turn around?
Good question. Look, I have been in it a long time. I think, one of our biggest challenges in the industry is retention of people. And it's a challenge because of, kind of the industry wages. And again, it's, that's based on competitive dynamics. It's based on, and those competitive dynamics are based on, what companies can afford to pay and, and as we all compete against each other. But, look, I would love to see this become a more professional industry. Certainly you can start as a security professional and you can work your way up into any position in this company. And I think in the industry, so I think that's huge, right? I mean, industries that can do that. But I'd love to see, the wage rate, be, $2, $3, $4 an hour more than the minimum wage. It used to be that way. And then all of a sudden the minimum wage started rising pretty quickly. And so, that delta has gotten much, much smaller, but over the long term, if we're going to, continue to try to professionalize this industry, that comes from wages. Higher wages will lead to, better us being able to provide better perks and benefits and things like that. So that's probably the biggest challenge we have in the industry. And that really goes back to holding on to, great people and letting more and more people make this a career versus make this a stepping stone.
A stepping stone, and they're on the front line, possibly in maybe some of the worst situations that we could put them in. They deserve it.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, Steve, thank you so much. This has been amazing to hear your voice, but also to hear more about the industry and your perspective, since you are, again, at Allied Universal. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.